Hello, and welcome to part 2, part D, of inheritance of single traits. Again, remember traits equals genes. All right, let's get right to it. So, as you recall, we were talking about dominant and recessive alleles, and homozygous and heterozygous genotypes. So, again, dominant means that if that allele is present, it's expressed. And a recessive allele is only expressed when it's the only one present. So quick review there. So if there are two alleles for a given characteristic, okay, we're always going to let a capital letter stand for the dominant color or the dominant characteristic. So a capital letter will stand for the dominant characteristic. A homozygous, then, because when we're talking about a zygote, there are two copies of the gene. Okay, in the gametes, one copy, zygote, two copies. All right, so a homozygous purple colored plant has two alleles for purple and would look like this, capital P, capital P. And the only gametes possible from that plant would have that same capital P allele, that purple allele. Okay. The recessive allele is always referred to by the lowercase version of the same letter. It wouldn't be W, it's going to be a lowercase p. Okay, so P for purple, capital P, and lowercase p for white. Okay. So in order to see the white, if you have a homozygous means two of the same in the zygote, two alleles for white and would look like this. Okay. And that plant can only produce gametes with a white allele because it's the only one present. If we cross a purple flowered, and these guys are my true breeding. Actually, let's go back here. So homozygous equals true breeding. So now we got that definition. There we go. All right, so if we cross a true breeding purple flowered plant with a true breeding white flowered plant, okay, so again, this is our parental generation, the offspring in our F1 generation, okay, they're all going to have a genotype. So this plant can only produce purple gametes. This plant can only produce white gametes. So if we add our gametes together, we get one of each in our F1 generation. Okay. And all of these plants will be purple. Okay. Because the purple is dominant. And if the dominant gene is present, if the dominant allele is present, it will be expressed. So it masks that white allele. And this kind of explains the data that was in the last screencast that Mendel was seeing in these crosses. Okay. And when you have one of each allele, you're called a hybrid. Okay. And hybrids are heterozygous. Hetero means two different, one of each, hybrid plants. So again, as the F1 offspring were all heterozygous for flower color. Okay. So then if we take our F1 offspring, and remember they're all have this genotype, now because they have two different alleles, their gametes can contain two different alleles. So they make two different kinds of gametes for each, for a male gamete or for a female gamete. So the sperm can have a dominant allele or a recessive allele, and the eggs can also have a dominant allele or a recessive allele. Okay. So if your plant is heterozygous, i.e. one of each alleles, okay, they're going to produce equal numbers of gametes with a dominant allele and equal numbers of gametes with a recessive allele for sperm, and the same thing with the eggs, equal numbers of dominant allele and recessive allele. If you have a heterozygous plant self-fertilizing, okay, the sperm has an equal chance of fertilizing each type of egg. So combining these 4 gametes into genotypes in every possible combination produces offspring with the following genotypes. So if I have a P sperm crossed with a P egg, I get one of each. If I have a lowercase, I get 2 lowercase. Okay, sperm, egg, and so on and so forth. And you can do dominant sperm and a recessive egg to get the, oops, got a little carried away there with my, to get the heterozygous. Okay. And these expressions of letters, right? So either the dominant allele expressed by the capital letter or the recessive allele expressed by the lowercase letter. When you have these guys paired up, representing the 2 alleles of the gene, this is what's called a genotype. So, and I think the next slide, yeah, here we go. So whatever combination of 2 alleles you have in your DNA, it's called the genotype. So a genotype tells exactly which alleles are present in the DNA. Okay, so a genotype will be kind of a combination of letters. All right, so 2 capital P's would tell me that there are 2 dominant alleles present, and that it's homozygous. A capital P and a lowercase p would tell me that there are 2 different alleles present, and that organism is heterozygous. Okay, so that's the genotype. The genotype says exactly what is in present in the DNA. The physical expression of the genotype is known as the phenotype. Okay, and the phenotype is what you see. Okay, so if I have a plant that has 2 dominant purple alleles, this is my genotype. Okay, and if I look at the plant, this plant is going to have purple flowers. And that's the phenotype. So a genotype will be, a combination of letters that representing the alleles. A phenotype is going to be a description, a descriptive word. Purple, tall, short, white, green, yellow, wrinkled, round. Okay, that's all going to be phenotypes. The genotype will always be the pair of letters representing the alleles that are present. Okay, and now I think we're going to go through this with some lovely diagrams here. Okay, so if I have a homozygous dominant parent, okay, crossed with a homozygous recessive parent, this parent can produce only gametes with dominant alleles. This, the white parent can produce only gametes with recessive alleles. Okay, and then if you combine, it doesn't matter which side is the sperm, which side is the egg. If you combine the gametes, okay, you get 1 dominant allele and 1 recessive allele. Dominant and recessive. Dominant, recessive. That looks like another D. Dominant, recessive. Either way, you're going to get 1 dominant and 1 recessive allele in your F1 offspring. Okay, and convention states that you always write the dominant allele first. Okay, and so all of these guys are going to be heterozygous. Okay, and so this is their genotype, and their phenotype is going to be what? What's their phenotype? You're right. They're purple. That's their phenotype. Okay, so then the next slide, I think, takes my F1 offspring. Here's my F1 offspring. So they have 1 of each allele. So the dominant allele can be in the sperm or the egg again. So all possible combinations. You can get a dominant sperm and a dominant egg to give you homozygous dominant. You can get a dominant sperm and a recessive egg. That'll give you the heterozygote. You can get a recessive sperm and a dominant egg. That'll again give you the heterozygote, one of each. Or you can get two recessive, okay, and that'll give you homozygous recessive. So these are all my genotypes. And then if we look at the phenotype of each, okay, so if there's a dominant allele present in this one, so it's going to be purple. Totally didn't spell purple right, but close enough. My genotype for the heterozygote, there's a dominant allele present, so it's still going to be purple. Again, dominant allele present, purple. And here in the white, there's only recessive alleles present, so we'll see that recessive phenotype, white. Okay? Questions? Comments? Concerns? All right, bring them up in class. That's the time. All right, now on to part trace. Go get him, Tiger.